So the next question is, what is now the maximal strength of model results for the real world? This is the question I'm asking now. So we found now the maximal, the strength of explanatory strength in the model world. Explanatory strength in the model world is limited because we only get potential explanations. We do not get more. And I am asking the question, now coming in the vicinity of Sugden and asking, okay, now let's look what's the maximal strength of model results for the real world. And the determination of the maximal strength, so in the most optimistic case of model results for the real world, is by idealizing the transfer condition, right? Sugden says, look, the problem is how can I get from the model world to the real world? And I'm saying here, well, I skip for a moment this problem. I just skip it. I'm not interested in. I make assumption A, and assumption A says the results from the model world can be immediately and fully transferred to the real world. That's probably not the case, right? This is probably not right. And Sugden would immediately say, yeah, you're stepping over the real problem. And I'm saying, yes, that's what I'm doing because I want to have the maximal strength of the model results. Now, this may seem strange for some people, but this is something which in theoretical physics you do again and again. You say, okay, I have a complicated situation. I don't know what's going on. And then you say, oh, what are the limits? Say, oh, if I change that limit, I go to this limit, what would happen then? Oh, okay, and then I get a certain boundary. And then I change another parameter and put it to 0 and the other to infinity. And they say, what's happening then? And then you get a feeling what the thing does, in the extreme cases. And then you say, okay, now I've got a feeling what got to happen in between. And this is the same sort of reasoning. It's just making something, assumption A, where Sugden would immediately say, yeah, that's trivial, that's trivially false. But I say, yeah, that's right, but I don't care. I just want to know what is the maximal strength of model results. And I just say, okay, let's assume we have no problem in this transfer from the model world to the real world. Now, this assumption, of course, ignores the presumed bottleneck of model explanation, according to Sugden, in order to find out what the explanatory force of a model for the real world is at best, right? In the very, very best case, right? It can't be more than that. And this is the idea, because the result is surprising, which you will see in a moment. So given this assumption, so we assume we can immediately transfer from the model world to the real world. Given A, does the Schelling model explain racial segregation in the real world, say in American cities? In the model world, Schelling model provides a potential explanation for model segregation. So it does. So presupposing A, in the real world, the Schelling model maximally provides a potential explanation for real segregation. Right? Because already in the model world, you only get potential explanations. Of course you get in the real world not more from the model considerations, trivially so. This is the idea why I say, look at these contrafactual A, what's the best possible result for the real world, and there you see already, because the explanatory power in the model world is already very limited. That limitation then translates immediately into the real world. So you can never get more by a model than a potential explanation, because you only get that in the model world. So you can't say it could be better there. No, it can only be worse, probably much worse. Okay, so in the Schelling model maximally provides a potential explanation for real segregation, and this holds in general, I think. Models maximally provide a set of potential explanations for the real world. They don't give you more, because you could find a different mechanism, giving the same results, and then in the real world could also be the different mechanism, and there you go, right? And then I don't know what the real explanation is. I just have a bunch of explanations delivered by the models, but not more. So this is the maximum. And now we can ask the question, once we have that, we know now, don't be too optimistic about your models. You'll never get more than potential explanations. And then you must make additional steps, to which I'll come later, to find out, well, what does it help me when I have 5 different possible potential explanations, say for racial segregation? What's the real one? What's the true one, the actual one, as it is usually called? So that's an additional step that comes later. But now let's look Well, this is, of course, A is super optimistic, right? It's no problem whatsoever. So the question is now, what is the logic of the transfer from the model world to the real world, to which Sugden gave the answer, an inductive step, due to fundamental similarities between model world and real world, right? And now I want to say, because I didn't believe that, let's look what I'm proposing here. But my answer is even much crazier than Sugden's. Sorry, I can't avoid it. I thought about it quite some time. Well, you'll see. So the